Welcome to Dracena Wines Podcast. Our wines plus your moments equals great memories. I'm your host, Laurie, and this is a podcast about all things wine. Welcome to another episode of Dracena Wines Podcast. This week, I sat down with a group of wine writer friends for another edition of Wine Writers Wrap-Up. The topic was all about decanting. It may not be such a volatile topic as we've had in the past, but people do seem to have a definitive opinion on whether or not you should decant and how long. Give it a listen, and afterwards, let me know what your thoughts are. Do you decant your wines? When and why? Hey everybody! Welcome to Dracena Wines, this month's Wine Writers Wrap-Up, and today we are talking about not such a volatile topic like we have done in the past, but this one is all about whether or not you should decant. Is there a time to decant, times not to decant? Just do it whenever you want. So we're going to get into that topic. But first, I've got to introduce my panel for tonight. And first is Nick Berube, is the marketing and brand manager for two wineries in the Pacific Northwest. He began his career in wine down in Argentina, where he did marketing communications for a well-known Malbec producer. He holds his advanced certificate in wine and spirits from the Wine and Spirit Education Trust and is currently a WSET diploma student. So, hey, Nick.
Hey, Laurie. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Always happy to see you. Next up is Michael Kelly. Has been collecting wine since 1978 when he bought his first case of Mondavi Private Reserve. Began writing wine after retiring from high tech about 6 years ago and has sold wine to Michelin 3-star restaurants in Japan and has brokered sales of grapes. He also was a judge in the 2018 Nevada Foothill Wine Competition. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
Next, Amber Burke writes for Travel Wine Eats, Amare Magazine, and the Vintners Project. She lives on the border of Napa and Green Valley. Her blog includes wine reviews, recipes, and articles about luxury travel. Hi, Amber.
Hi.
And our last panel member is John Taylor. He's been a wine enthusiast and hobbyist since before he was allowed to drink. He got his start in the wine business in 2011. Since then, he has been a sales and marketing professional for such esteemed Napa wineries as Roca Family Vineyards, Carden, I always say it wrong, Vineyards, did I say it right?
Sort of.
And Brasswood Estate. A former recording artist for Atlantic Records and graduate of USC School of Journalism, John has been a writer all of his life and is the creator of the award-winning wine blog, Pairs with Life. So, hi, John.
Hi, Laurie. Great to be with you.
I'm glad you're here, too. And lastly, I'm Laurie Budd. I am your host. My husband, Michael, and I own boutique winery in Paso Robles known as Dracena Wines. We specialize in Cabernet Franc. We are the founders of Cab Franc Day, and we both graduated from UC Davis winemaking program. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. And are we ready to start about decanting?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So first and foremost, what is everybody drinking? And now, a word from our sponsor. If you are looking to find some new and exciting wines, why not look to our sponsor, Winc, spelled W-I-N-C. Winc makes it easy to discover great wine. It delivers 4 bottles per month without a membership fee or commitment, and it even includes shipping. And if you go to trywinc.com/wrap-up, that's trywinc.com/wrap-up, you will receive $22 off of your first order. Winc is less like a wine club and more like a discount wine shop. Once you sign up, you're free to choose whichever bottles is in its online store that catch your eye, and many start at just $13 a bottle. Each wine comes complete with a plain English descriptor, tasting notes, and even suggested food pairings, so you know exactly what you're getting into well before you pull that cork. Plus, Winc's team of experts will recommend specific bottles each month based on the results of their fun-to-answer palate profile quiz and the feedback you can leave for every wine you taste through the simple rating system. So once again, go to trywinc.com/wrap-up. trywinc.com/wrap-up to get $22 off of your first order. Michael is driving, so he better not be drinking.
McDonald's Diet Coke.
Okay, so we got a McDonald's Diet Coke. I think we can improve on that. Nick?
Yeah.
So I am drinking the 2016 Fidelitas Red Mountain Optu white wine. It's a white wine blend, 62% Sauvignon Blanc, 38% Semillon, has about 60% New French oak. So with the lactic acid from the Semillon, the acid from the Sauvignon Blanc, it's perfect for a summer day.
Awesome. And John?
Not to sound too self-serving, but I am drinking the 2016 Yao Ming sparkling wine from Napa Valley.
Which is really, really good, I can say for myself.
Yeah, well, I'm stuck here in the tasting room, so I'm just going to drink, the supply. So it's 75% Chardonnay, 25% Pinot Noir, mostly from Carneros region in Napa. I really love this. It's like my favorite wine in the portfolio right now. Really creamy. Really got that kind of champagne roundness to it that I really love. And it's free here, so yay!
Yeah, yay! They'd be in trouble if I showed up there if it was free. Well, I am drinking Forma de Vida from Lodi. It is actually from Marcus Bokish, who we've met at the Lodi Wine Bloggers Conference. And this is actually a Verdejo, new to me, and I did absolutely no research, so I don't know anything about it. But it is a Winc wine, so that is our sponsor, so that is always good. Does anybody know Verdejo?
Yeah, Verdejo is a fantastic Spanish varietal. Is that from Bokish's vineyards up in Lodi?
Yes, it is.
Incredible Spanish varietals up there. It's amazing.
He really is. I think he's an incredible winemaker. He's a great all-around guy. It's nice and crisp, and we're in a cold front here in Fresno right now. It's 98 degrees. It is the first day under 100 since July 6th. So, I might need a jacket, but this is perfect for this weather. So, launch it, everybody.
Yeah, I do. Launch it.
Good.
So I'm not drinking tonight, but I am shamelessly plugging a wine, and this is for my friends at Chain Vino. And they are importing beautiful wines from places that you cannot get wines from. And this is a beautiful Plavic Molly. It was 2012. You cannot see a label. It's all embossed, so you can't see it. And it's called Stina Plavic Molly. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's got this big, rich, if you've ever had Plavic Molly, it's kind of a Zinfandel on steroids. This has got this beautiful chocolateness to it. And it's just such a wonderful wine to drink with so many dishes. It tends to be a little heavier, but I really like it as a chill out wine, something that's not too complicated, that you don't have to think about a lot.
So, decanting. I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of lazy, so I don't actually really decant. I'm more of I'll just pour a glass and kind of let it air, whatever. So, what about you guys? Do you decant your wine on a regular basis?
For me, no.
No, I wouldn't say regularly. No, there's definitely some specific conditions or circumstances.
And what would be what would you?
Like the number one thing would be age. If we're looking at anything 10 years or older, to me, that's definitely time to decant and just allow it to get as much oxygen as possible and open up, being confined in that poor bottle for so long. And then, maybe an not so old but bigger wine, like, a lot of these Napa cabs can use a little extra time and oxygen to get them going, to get their balance back. And those don't have to be as old as 10 years. If I know something's going to be, a big old baseball bat of oak and fruit, then I'll definitely decant then.
Napa oak? Never.
Who knew?
Nick, do you ever? Amber, go ahead.
I guess I'm on I decant probably more than a lot of people. We age our wines in our cellar. We're very specific about when we drink certain wines. I have them labeled. When I go and I taste, I label them of when I believe that they will peak to give me the best out of my bottle. And then if for some reason, just like you said, we're drinking something way too young or whatever, then we have to make sure that we got to give it some love to let it show itself. So we have a couple of things that we do, and also cheap wine. Cheap wine, if you give it some love and give it a little bit of a decant. Come on, you guys all know. It really helps it out. So and I have some little tricks because I didn't believe that this was true, but I hang with some really fun people, and they assure me that these things happen. So I was talking with a friend, and I was saying, "Do you have a decanter?" And she goes, "No, I just throw it in the blender." I'm like, okay, the blender. And then I laughed my head off, but then I saw that there's a new product out on the market that, guess what it is? It's a glorified blender for your wine. Mm-hmm. And it's saying that it's an aerator, and it just basically, it's a blender with a timer, and there you go. So this is my fun little thing. This is my personal decanter that I use.
Oh, okay.
Nice one.
You get the air in and gives it something, and when you're pouring out, it helps. But in a glass, this is a little deal. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it, guys? And what this does is you pour the wine in, and it goes around the spout, and then
Vittori or something.
Yeah, and it's got little holes in the bottom, and it just really helps, especially with a cheaper wine. And it goes really fast. You can speed aerate the wine, and it does a pretty good job. It's not too bad. But if you're really, really gonna be ghetto, here we go. So you've all seen these Aero Latte things. You take this and you throw it down there and just give your glass a good little zippy. And there you go. You got your aeration.
That's a little wine hack right there.
There
you go. A little wine hack
101.
See, you learn something every day, and there you go. There's my big thing. As far as there is times where you absolutely do not decant wines, and that is when you get a really, really old bottle. I got some really old bottles, and I was on a wine writers conference, and they were serving us some super beautiful old bottles, and they decanted them before they poured them, and they fell into little bitty pieces. These poor wines just exploded, and we're throwing away $800 bottles of wine. So watch it, taste the wine before you aerate, before you do anything to it. Taste it, see what it needs. Right. That's my big thing.
I agree with you, Amber. I think after even 15 years sometimes, especially say Pinot Noir, They're just too delicate. And I mean, if you're doing it just because you want to get out any kind of sediment, if it was unfiltered, unfined, what have you, that's great. But any kind of extended oxygenation, it's going to just kill off any of those real delicate aromas and flavors that are still there.
Right. I was going to say, I think that age thing has a lot to do with what the variety is, what that, because, there's some seriously, I had a 1949 Covent de Jacobin, and it was decanted. And
but how long? How long was it decanted?
It was blind, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm assuming not very long, but at least an hour, because I'm pretty sure it was probably all set up for us before we got there to taste. But I don't really know. It definitely, it looks prettier in a decanter than pouring it out of the bottle. But I agree with Nick. I think that, a Pinot is a different beast altogether than a big old Bordeaux. But Michael, are you got a comment?
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, my only comment would be, that I also, everything's 8 to 10 years is pretty much across the board in the cellar. So we decant probably 75% of the wine for anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. And I also decant anything that is unfiltered. So it gives it a chance to go from the bottle down into the decanter. And we have all kinds of different decanters, all the way from very simple decanters all the way up to the Riedel E decanter, which you have to have a CD goes with it to know how to use the E decanter. So, all of that, I think, the age, the type, but really the only other thing I'd add was just whether it's filtered or unfiltered.
Has anybody ever done to get the filtering using the old coffee filter?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah.
It works.
Bleach coffee filter, why not?
Yeah, I think that there's not a wine lover alive who hasn't used the coffee filter, And it comes in handy for other reasons too. We had gone out to dinner with another couple, and we had brought a $125 bottle of wine. And when the waitress went to go open the bottle, she was not very adept at it, I guess, and she cracked the glass.
Oh, wow.
So the very top was, jar. And she was so apologetic, and I'm like, well, I am drinking this wine. I am drinking this wine. And so we told her to go get a coffee filter, so that if there's any glass, it's going to go into the coffee filter. So there's decanters, that are out there that are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And I'm not an expert on it, so I don't know, but I get there's different shapes for different things, for different reasons. But is it really that different? Does one decanter do something that differently than another decanter?
Well, there's that kind that you pour into, and then it doesn't sit up, and you can spin it on the table, and it looks really cool.
Yes.
So that's the best I got. I don't know. It seems to me that it's a lot of it's about surface area. There's decanters, just like the one that Amber showed, that doesn't seem to have as much of a surface area, but it has that wedge shape in the middle, so that the wine pours down what becomes four sides almost of a decanter. Whereas you have the others that have the very large basin at the bottom, and the wine goes across a large surface area around that thing, and so it seems like that it's really about surface area and just trying to oxygenate as much as possible with that, expose it to as much oxygen as possible. But yeah, there are so many different kinds, and I don't know what the other kinds are about.
I would say that there's an Italian one that I have, and there's the Eve, and when you get it in the right position, you will pour out the same amount to each person that is sitting at the table.
Oh, okay. So that's an added. That's like a bonus.
Yes, but it's very expensive decanter. but that's the as it does everything in basic aeration, but then on top of that, it goes down to this neck, and then that pours the same amount to each person.
So that
I like to pick and choose who I like, who's going to get more.
Nick,
that's right.
That's pretty new too for me.
Nick, this is why we get along so well, because that's exactly what was going in my head. I don't want everybody to have the same amount.
Exactly.
You've got that person at the table who, puts ice in everything they drink. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, I might want to give them a little less of my, Mouton Rothschild wine that I'm ordering. Amber, what about you? Do you have more than one decanter?
I do. I have several styles. I picked one off the shelf, and I thought, I better have something to talk about while we're on this chat. I have the one with the long bottom and whatever. But the best one that I ever saw, as in best, most interesting one for a table discussion, it actually looks like a medieval torture device. It's so cool. And they're $499 for this decanter. And what it looks like is it looks like a hole at the top, and then the shape comes down like this, and then there's a ball at the bottom. And so the wine gets poured in at the top, comes down by a gravity, and then you pull the chain at the bottom and put the glass up, and that's how the wine fills into the glass. And I'm like, okay, very interesting. It takes up a whole lot of space, and they have the big model and they have the small model, and very interesting.
Wow.
Does it actually double as a torture device? It might be worth the investment.
Where do you put that on your dining room table? I have a dining room table that fits 10 people, and I'm telling you, you can't fit that sucker on the table.
Wow.
Where do you put it?
Wow.
And it sounds like when you pull the chain, that's what allows the water
the wine to come out. The wine to come out, yeah.
It sounds like the water basin of a toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay. See now, my mind went completely in.
Pull the chain, and what happens, Laurie?
I don't want to put explicit on this, but
it has to be safe for work. Safe for work. Safe for your kids.
Woo! I don't know. I've seen some. I think I don't own it. I've never seen it live. I've just seen pictures of it. But I think my favorite one, no clue whether it works well or not. There's one that looks like a heart. So it's got like the aorta. It's got all the. It's
like a real
heart. So being biology geek that I am, that one, you actually I think you pour the wine into the aorta, and then it goes through the atriums and the ventricles and superior vena cava and all that good stuff.
And how do you clean it?
Well, that was going to be my next question.
A bypass.
Quadruple bypass needed. I find decanters, even our decanter is just very basic. It's the neck with the big long base on it. It's not easy to clean. So all of these cool looking ones that have all these chambers and do all this, how do you clean them? How do you guys clean your decanters?
So I have a curved brush that goes around.
Well, she's got the prop of that too.
I've got the prop. No, I've just got the prop. So it comes in and it curves round and it just goes under the bottom, and you can swirl it around, and then you pull it out and then do the other side. Okay. So this one's really simple, and as is the bottom one. You just real simple, and it just swishes around. But that's one of my big things when I look at wine decanters. And how practical is it to actually clean those? Can you get all the bacteria? Wine has a lot of bacteria. It has things like bread in it. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can get and then spoil your next bottle of wine if you don't get that bottle of wine out.
Right.
You know, there's all kinds of stuff. If you get a spoiled bottle of wine, you put it in your decanter, and then, you know, you don't get all the wine out, your next wine that you put in there, guess what? You're going to ruin it.
And what about, I mean, just the water, if you can't get all of the water out?
The water out. That's another good one. Yeah.
I actually blow dry my decanter. So in my decanter, the kind of thing I described, it has the large basin at the bottom. So it's just your typical large basin with the long neck. So I end up taking a chopstick and shoving a washcloth down there.
Oh.
And then swishing around the washcloth and rotating it with the chopstick and then pulling out the washcloth, rinse it all out, and then try to drain out as much as the water I can. And then I take a hairdryer, stick it up in there, and start blow drying until the water all dries up. Because that's my biggest concern too, is like getting some kind of mildew in your decanter. That would absolutely defeat the purpose. So blow dry it.
Wow. You know what? I've never even thought about
I'll use
that.
that one.
That's a great tip.
And that is another thing. Like, I mean, as much as I run around and as much as I like to work out, I like to work out. I'm lazy when it comes to cleaning. I don't want to clean. I don't want to have such difficulty cleaning. Although the blow dryer is like awesome because the heat brings in a whole other element of a great idea, you know. Nick, any tricks?
No, actually, I'm going to start using the blow dryer trick. That's actually, I mean, I use like a baby bottle brush just because you can get long ones and just to like clean. But in terms of drying, that's always been the hard part. So blow dryer.
That might be the tip of the day.
Yeah, I just want to. One of the things we always got was the water spot. So we finally went to using distilled water for the final rinse. And then we also use the bead, the scouring bead on the bottom of the decanter, and that seems to do the trick.
Dr. Gavin Sacks, an associate professor at Cornell University School of Department of Food Science, notes that separating clarified wine from the solids suspended in the bottle was the original motivation behind decanting wine. So his belief is that it really had nothing to do with the oxygenation, that it just had to do with getting rid of the sediment and that type of thing. So I don't know if that's a debatable fact or if it's even worth a debate or whatever, but thoughts?
I think it is probably very true, if not absolutely true. And I mean, that's when you go through like most wine studies, they'll tell you that's basically the point of, when you're decanting and you have one glass left basically when you stop, because that's the wine that you'll pour out because it has sediment in it and you're supposed to watch the neck of the bottle. And I think it's one of those just things that happen. They started decanting and they're like, oh, it actually adds oxygen and helps the wine. And so it's one of those like penicillin, like somebody ate some mold and then got better. And, that's...
You know how I love my microbiologist. Don't get me going on my microbiologist.
I agree with that absolutely. You're pouring out the wine into some vessel so that you can get rid of the sediment, and so you have this decanter and you put it in there. And I guess he came up with his theory before the days of coffee filters, because it kind of makes it a moot point now if you want to go the whole distance on a bottle of wine. But I agree with Nick that he must have discovered at the same time that the additional aeration really added to the quality of the wine.
Well, too, back then they weren't really, oaking the wine as something that they did to make the flavor better. Really, the oak was used as just simply storage. Now they're doing all the toasting of the oak and all these other funky things to make the wine have a certain flavor profile, to bring out things like vanilla and chocolate and this and that and the other thing. And, decanting that helps bring out the nuances in some cases of that, where that wasn't the case before. Everybody just, you made your wine, you threw it in your barrel, and that was that, pretty simple process.
Right.
So I think as time evolves and wine evolves and the way we drink wine has evolved.
Right. You learn that there's a difference between micro-oxygenation and oxygenation. A little is good, a lot is not so good. So what are your rules of when you pull out a bottle? You have a rule of, all right, I'm going to decant this. Does it vary how long you're going to decant it depending on what it is? Are you like me and taste as you go along so that by the time the decanter is finally finished, there's no more wine anyway? So what would you say are some rules of decanting?
I would say that time is one of the big rules. If you can make it last for about 3 hours, I think that's really where you get into the zone, with some wines. But I'm with you. It's like almost impossible, especially if you're doing this over dinner. It's like, the French and Spanish, they can eat over 3 hours. I can't, and it's nearly impossible. But with some, extraordinary bottle that you're really going to try to savor. To me, that 3 hour period is going to give you the stages of that wine's development over time. So it's good to have, for me, it's that large amount of time if you can possibly hold off.
My trick to that, drink another bottle beforehand.
Yeah. There's going to be the wine we get buzzed on and the wine that we drink.
Yes. While I'm cooking wine and while I'm enjoying wine, Yes.
So I guess when I think about rules, I guess there is some rules you think about. I mean, because I'm kind of weird about the cellar and bottles will not be consumed before this date. And then there's other bottles I don't care about, but there's certain bottles where they have a date on them and death will happen if they, are touched. Some of the bottles that I would definitely decant, when I'd be thinking about those wines, and again, it depends on what type of a wine it is, how much that I think it will need decanting. If it's a big, huge cab that's going to need, some time to just give it some air and some love, then I'm going to give it, all 3 hours and whatever. Sometimes it just needs an hour. Sometimes it just needs some time to just be in the glass. Mm-hmm. Just depends on the wine, how it's tasting, how it's moving.
I guess I'm a little too, we're typically choosing our wine as we're cooking, and I am probably the only wine enthusiast that hates food. So it's not, everybody like, oh, I want this wine with this food and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'll have a panini. Like, give me grilled cheese. Panini is just, the glorified grilled cheese of the world. So my meals don't take very long. Doesn't take long to boil water and throw pasta in there. So I'm never thinking that far in advance. So I have that problem. Yeah, 3 hours. I don't think I've ever decanted anything for 3 hours. Yeah, I don't think I have.
Yes. Yeah, I have done one which I thought was bizarre. There was a Tinta de Toro and a Montepulciano de Abruzzo, and they had to sit literally overnight.
Yeah.
There was a wine at one of the wineries that we had, and we were going to serve it the day after Thanksgiving or the Thanksgiving weekend, and it was a 14, and we were going to be pouring it in some 15. I made sure that we opened all the bottles the night before, corked them, and then let them sit just because it needed that time. It was a Touriga Nacional, and it needed it.
Yeah.
A big Barolo that's not, 15, 20 years old, it's going to need a lot more time than some of these more delicate, varietals.
When you say that you corked it and kept it overnight, did you leave it in the bottle? You corked it, then put the cork back in and left it like that?
We let it sit for a bit, and then we just put the corks back in. We didn't put any argon or anything like that. We just let it sit. And the next morning, I came in, and it was absolutely beautiful, showing all of the nuances that I know it could.
That's another great tip. I like that.
So how do you? I'm going back to that same question of, you have something in your head of this wine needs an hour. This wine, I think, needs 2 hours or 3 hours. How are you determining that? So for somebody who wants to open a bottle and wants to, all right, I know this needs to be decanted. What could you tell somebody as a tip of how long it should be decanted?
Let me give you a funny story. I tasted them. I thought they were lousy. I recorked them, gave them to my daughter. She went home, opened them, halfway drank them. I went there the next day, and they were wonderful wines. I go, why did I give you all those good wines? So, it was like I gave her 6 really good bottles of wine that were probably all, $75 to $100 bottles of wine. And a day later, they were phenomenal.
That's how we found out about the Touriga. It was by chance. It was by chance in my apartment. I had opened a bottle. I was like, this is no. And then the next day I went back to it, and I was like, oh, holy cow.
That's terrific. Yeah, I think that for me, when I talk about the 3 hour period, I don't think there's any way of knowing exactly how long it's going to take. But if you have 3 hours and you're tasting it during different periods over that, different times over that period, each time is going to have sort of a different profile to it. It's going to taste differently as it did the first hour, then it does the second hour, then it does the third hour, or as the other guys are saying, overnight, it'll be entirely different. The wine's changing and evolving over that time period. So it's just kind of a fun experience to check it out during, every hour or so. Again, if you've got the patience.
But doesn't that cause a problem with those of you who actually cook real meals and plan, you might be having your dinner at 6 p.m. So you're opening it at 3 because you think it's 6, but now it's not quite there, or it is there. How do you guys manipulate that?
Well, I was just gonna say, Laurie, I work in the wine industry. When I'm cooking just my regular old meal, I'm not drinking, $50, $75, $100 wines. So that's not an issue. That's special occasions for me.
I'm gonna say we use the Laurie Rule. Open another bottle.
There you go.
I will try and do one of the little gadgets if it's not quite there and I really need it to be there for whatever reason. And you can't serve another bottle. Either it's too much alcohol. You don't want to be.
Whoa. Too much alcohol. Wait.
Yeah, because usually I do multi-course meals. So if you just can't blow everybody's palates on, I also don't want it to be the second bottle if I'm serving something really good. You don't want that to be the second bottle. You want your palate to be nice and fresh. So, it really I haven't had a problem with it, a wine being so out that, I've thought, oh my God, if I would have only had another couple of hours to decant this. No, you kind of know. It's experience. I think it's experience.
Do we decant whites?
Yes. Yeah, I decanted a Sauterne and a Fondue. it just, especially the Bagnole, it's just one of those wines that gets browner and browner as time goes by. And, it was 20 years old, just felt like, let's decant this and see what happens. And same thing with the Sauterne. I had a Chateau d'Yquem a while back that was
Great.
right.
John, I need to come. I need to come visit you for dinner. Like what?
It was sort of a once in a lifetime event.
Okay.
But yeah, we decided to decant that as well, just to follow the rule. And I would say that it was a mistake to not try it
beforehand,
so that I do a before and after. But it was delicious. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, the age thing, right?
The age thing, exactly.
Yeah. Nick, Michael, you got anything about decanting whites?
Yeah. I was just talking to a winemaker the other day, and he was saying specifically on a Roussanne, he likes to decant it for a short period of time. And I have a bunch of Roussanne, Marsanne, and I've never personally decanted a white wine.
I haven't either, although I did see Smith Madrone decant a 30-year-old Riesling.
Mm.
Oh.
And, I mean, okay, so Smith Madrone Riesling in 30 years, like, come on, that was just fantastic. So I don't know. I was a lucky person to get to drink that, but, I just thought that they were doing it to make it look nicer when they were serving it, but maybe I'll have to ask Stu about that.
Right. So going back to the question you asked me, did they decant it just to make it look pretty? Because it absolutely does. Or, did it sit there for a while?
I really don't know the answer to that. I really don't know the answer to that.
Because I absolutely agree. It definitely looks prettier in any of those decanters than just pouring out of a bottle.
Well, I mean, sometimes the bottles are, especially when you're getting those old bottles, they look kind of moldy and they don't look that nice, it's a fact, you get, it's a damp cellar conditions and, a lot of age and, whatever. They just, the labels don't necessarily hold up all that great. The glue conditions, whatever. So, putting it in a pretty decanter that looks so gorgeous and elegant, and it adds more ceremony or whatever to.
True.
And it's also the other visually pleasing part about it is that older whites take on a very complex color. It's a deeper yellow. It's sunflowers and sunshine and gold hues and things like that, which you can't see really in the bottle. Pour it in glass and you start to get an idea, of course. But yeah, it's beautiful in the decanter.
My last question is, are there any wines or wine regions that you would say do not decant?
I just drove through Lodi. I would
Just saying that. Just thinking that. Lodi's in. Don't do it.
Don't do it. So I'm asking this question because I was looking through articles and reading scientific journals and things like that. And there were several people who were saying, do not ever decant Burgundy.
That goes back to that old age of Pinot Noir and just soft finesse. And if it's super aged, you're going to lose a lot of it. You're going to beat the hell out of it.
Yeah, because I didn't know why, so I was curious. That's it. You think it's too
delicate,
brutal,
too delicate.
The wine is too delicate.
The wine is too delicate.
Oh, interesting. So you guys all agree with that now that I pointed that out? Thank you.
I'd totally go with that. Yeah, especially with Burgundies because, you get highly concentrated Pinot from San Lucia Highlands or something. It's an entirely different ball of wax. So I don't know if the same thing would apply. But yeah, Burgundies are so subtle to begin with. It makes absolute sense.
So not, I've always said I'm more New World. My little trips to Bordeaux has changed my mind of Bordeaux. But I don't really have a lot of experience in tasting, so I wouldn't have, I thought that was interesting that they were saying Burgundy, but.
Yeah, I love Italian wine, and anything Barolo, Sangio, any of those Nebbiolo, any of those type of wine. I always like them better with a tiny little bit of age. Just give them like 2 years, whatever, and then give them a little air. And they're wonderful with food and whatever. Those really just do so well with decanting. A little decanting, just 2 years, and you got something really great for really cheap. What do you guys think?
Sounds great. I love Italian for dinner. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you.
All right. So you guys ready?
Okay.
Guess what time it is?
Riddle time.
Riddle time.
Real time.
Riddle time. Okay. The sun bakes them. The hand breaks them. The foot treads them. The mouth tastes them.
Grapes.
Nick, you are so awesome. Nick is kicking
you
butt.
got a challenge.
I know. Nick is just kicking butt in the riddle game. He really is.
I excelled in 3rd grade.
Yes, you are leading, and Rick's not here this week, so now you really went. You went over and above. Yes, grapes. I did kind of think that was an easy, a somewhat easy one. This is your time. Anyway, so we're up to wrap up time. So this is the time for you to plug yourself. What's happening? What's in any upcoming week? Anything you want us to know about you? I'm just going to go left to right on my screen. So Amber, you are up first.
Yeah, it's going to be a kind of quiet week. David, my husband and writing partner, is just texted me and said he is on his way home from London, and it's going to be a little bit of a quiet week, time for us to, get some writing done and some editing done. But after what's coming up is headed down to San Diego, and I'm going to be headed to Temecula. I'm trying to taste some Temecula wines. So this is going to be really interesting. I have not done that since I was a child, literally. So this should be interesting to get down there toward the end of the month.
Oh, yeah, I have not tasted from there either. So it would be, you got to let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
That's it. I'm out.
All right, Nick?
So, WineCom Guy, you can find me on Instagram, WineCom Guy, Twitter, WineCom Guy, winecomguy.com. Let's see. I have a few new wine reviews being posted this week. I start the Unit 5, which is sparkling, of the diploma program, so at the end of the week. So I'll be probably doing a lot of sparkling wine posts. And then...
can I fly back out and see you and help taste with you?
Yes, you absolutely can. It would be fabulous if you come back and visit. And then, in case you haven't seen it on Instagram, I actually do some freelance, non-invasive medical procedures. So,
He does. Did you guys see that?
You can come up and visit me and
Just
I guess you guys didn't see that, did you?
I think TMI is going on around here.
No, oh my God, he removed staples from this woman's head on Instagram.
Oh my God.
at work.
At work. And
I had to tie it back to my POV. If I'm gonna take staples out of people's heads, I'm gonna do it at a winery, obviously, in a vineyard.
And what was my comment? How come when I cracked my skull open, they had to shave my head? That was my only comment. Yeah, so more medical procedures on its way, maybe.
Okay.
Possibly.
John, you're up.
So this week I am trying to do some finishing touches on my new novel, which is called Pairs with Life, which is kind of based on a story around the blog that I write, which is at pairswithlife.net. the manuscript is with a copy editor right now, so they're putting it all in the standard format, so it's all compliant with the Chicago Manual of Style, et cetera, et cetera. And then in September, I will start in earnest to try to get a literary agent in publishing and all that good stuff. So we shall see. In the meantime, I'm back to blogging as full-time as I possibly can. I've got a new post coming out tomorrow at pairswithlife.net. And going to try to do some more intensive reviews on the 2016s, which are here in Napa are being bottled this month and next month, right before harvest starts up. So it's good to sort of be out of the cave and not just writing full time and going insane. I mean, like literally insane. So that's good. I might even take a day off or something. I remember it's like something that people do. So we'll see.
Congratulations on the novel.
Congratulations! I'm excited to see it.
Read that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post the first chapter on the blog here in the coming weeks as soon as I get the manuscript back, and and then it's cross your fingers time.
Awesome. Good luck, and we can't wait to read it. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm Laurie. We are almost sold out of our Cab Franc. We are doing our next tasting event is actually in Paso this coming Saturday. So I'm very excited about that. We are going to be at the Wine Boss, and it is dog friendly. So we are going to be on the patio of the Wine Boss, and we are going to be having all the dogs come meet Vegas. So that is what we're doing. And then our next event is at the end of August, which is at the Fresno Chaffee Zoo, which I am still begging Nick to come fly in and help pour with me.
That might happen.
Yay! And so we'll be at the zoo pouring to benefit the zoo. And, I'm all about animals. So
that's terrific.
Yeah. So that's where we are. And I will keep harassing Nick till he says yes. So that is it. So I want to thank everybody for joining today, and I appreciate you guys taking your time out of your, I'm sure, busy day. Next month is going to be September 10th, and it's going to be, should you drink the wine now or drink it later? So that is the next month's topic. So hope you guys can join in next month, and thank you very much for joining. And one last Sláinte.
Cheers. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Laurie.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Laurie.
Thanks for listening to Dracaena Wines podcast. If you have suggestions on what topics you would like us to discuss, please reach out to us on social media. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, Google, and Periscope as @Dracaena Wines. I am also on LinkedIn as Laurie Hoyt Budd, or email us at dracaenawines.com. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast catcher to help others find us more easily. We are found on all of your favorite aggregators. To subscribe easily to iTunes, go to bit.ly/Dracaena podcast. That's bit.ly/Dracaena podcast. And that's a capital D for Dracaena and capital P for podcast. Please check out our award-winning wines and find out about our wine club at dracaenawines.com. And remember to always pursue your passion. Sláinte.